Hey, what's going on, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the greatest baseball show on YouTube. It is baseball adjacent, self proclaimed, of course. No actual people have told us this. I just believe in
Yet.
myself a lot. And my name is Taco Josh. That right there is America's pitching coach. It is Justin Arth, live from Atlanta. I am live from Texas. You guys are going to hit the subscribe button. If you find yourself over here pretty frequently, maybe do us a favor and hit the like button. We're basically all baseball all the time. But that's enough self promotion. We've got a big episode today. We got the playoffs. Football season started, but it is MLB playoff push time. So we're talking about all things playoff related, the playoff picture, the South California teams, the Phillies, a little bit of Chapman talk. The Northeast is involved, but we ran out of space on the bottom line. So, Justin, how are we feeling today about baseball?
Yeah, about baseball in general. I mean, hey, this American League wildcard standings are getting pretty tight right now, and we've got 20 days left of the regular season. So guys have anywhere between 16 to 20 games left. So we're coming down to the thick of it. There might be Doomsday in Southern California. Phillies are falling like flies. It's going to be a pretty good episode.
Yeah, we're in it. We every team I believe has 6 series left, which is like kind of shocking. We got about 3 weeks left in the season. That's the way that math works out. But so we're right at the end. We are at that final stretch. There is no like, oh, we'll bounce back next week or in a couple of weeks. Like it is do or die time for a lot of teams. And the American League wild card race has tightened up in the last while. Seattle's been flailing a little bit. They are the holders of the last spot. We thought maybe the Yankees would falter, but they've been 4-2 since our last episode when we questioned what they would do. So shout out us with the reverse Yankee jinx, I guess, unless you hate the Yankees and that's our bad. But if you love the Yankees, you're welcome. Let's dive into, I guess, first the American League wild card because that's the race that I think is the most intriguing right now. New York obviously is that first wild card team behind Toronto, and then Boston's behind them. Seattle holds that last spot, but there's a sizable gap between them, Boston, and New York. The
Yep.
teams that are, I would say, within striking distance are Texas, Kansas City, and Cleveland. There was a big gap between Seattle and the rest of those teams, and it's tightened up because it hasn't gone well. I guess looking at it, not counting Seattle because they're already in, which of those three teams do you think has the best shot, realistically, of making their way back in?
Yeah, of the teams that are sitting down below, I would still have to go to the Texas Rangers. I mean, the Texas Rangers, despite the injuries and despite everyone everything that we've talked about previously of guys, the big name guys not playing or not playing well or having all the injuries, like their next man up mentality, and even though the pitching has taken a step back, their offense has really taken a step forward. They seem to be lighting it up every time I look at the scoreboard, and their pitching's still getting the job done. I mean, it's like they're 7-3 in their last 10. They're scoring runs, or they're not really scoring runs at all, but the pitching's keeping them in the games. Now, obviously, tonight they're playing Milwaukee. I think that's a big telltale sign for them. They did take 2 out of 3 from Houston, which was great. But like I keep saying, overall, is like this team gets enough offense when they need it, despite how inconsistent they are. They can be really hot, they can be really cold, and now's the time to start picking it up and get real hot. But this pitching, if it gets in, it'll be a really dangerous team, especially come postseason. And right now, I think the pitching gives them the upper hand over these other teams. And I'll even argue and say Tampa, with how they're playing right now, could still be in the picture. I know they're one game under 500, but they're 4 back. And yeah, the Seattle Mariners kind of got a get right series against my Atlanta Braves. That's what kind of helping keep them in that wild card spot. But the Tampa Bay Rays, I think, are a team to kind of maybe a sleeper to look out for here.
Yeah, Tampa. My pushback on Tampa, I guess, not to just absolutely poop on Tampa fans. That 4 games at this point in the season is a lot, especially when you have a bunch of teams to
Yeah.
jump. I do. I think
True.
when you're looking at like, we'll flip to the NL for a second. Cincinnati is 4 games behind the Mets, but there's no teams between them. They are just chasing the Mets. There has to be so much that goes right for Tampa. Uh,
Well, And that's where I'll push back a little bit because okay, the Texas Rangers are 7-3 in their last 10. Kansas City's just 5-5. Cleveland's kind of come out of nowhere at 6-4. But we've talked about in length how terrible Cleveland is offensively. Like their WRC plus through what from August 28th, I believe I've looked at with my stats here is a 90. They're not really doing anything offensively. Most of their guys are pretty poor right now. I mean, Jose Ramirez was on a pretty bad slump until like these last 4 games or whatever with 4 extra base hits. But I look at Tampa, and this is what kind of made me high on Tampa again. Do I think they get in? Absolutely not. But they're 7-3 in their last 10. They've got a 101 WRC plus, so it's a little above league average. But they are a top 3 in BABIP and top 4 in batting average total with the team. And they also have the best ERA in the American League through or since October. Or I say October since August 28th. And they're getting out of jams a lot. Like any jam that their pitchers are getting in, they're getting themselves out of it right now. So they are playing some really hot baseball. Do I think because they have to jump so many teams, do they get in? No. But I do think where they're playing right now could make them pretty scary. And I know we're talking about the very last team in the wild card, but that is my pushback. I do think Tampa right now is playing better than Cleveland. I do think they're playing better than Kansas City. Texas is getting results. Offense is just really inconsistent with them, but the pitching, I think, still gives them the upper hand on Seattle if Seattle continues to fall. Or, hey, if they keep running into series like my Atlanta Braves, like Cal Raleigh will easily have Mickey Mantle's record here in a couple days, and then we're going forward, and Seattle's in, and Texas is still out.
Yeah, if I was going to pick a team that's outside looking in, that to me has like the best mojo and the best shot to, I'm a Ranger fan. So I'm inclined to say Texas, but for the sake of the podcast, I'll say Kansas City would be a team that I would look at. I think
Pitching is really good.
Bobby Witt is finding it. They had a rough start, if you all remember. There was just months where they just were not finding it, and now they're kind of back. Is it too little, too late? Maybe. I mean, time will tell on that, but I think that they have roster wise right now, just where they are at, because they have their star players there, I would feel more confident in Kansas City catching up to Seattle than I would Texas taking the like Rangers Josh fan out of podcast takes, right? So Kansas City is interesting because the pitching in a bubble should be good. Like Reagan should be good and Lugo should be good. The top end is there at least. The lineup is there. I don't know. I think Kansas City, there's at least a world. I think Seattle still winds up with that last spot, to be clear, but I do think Kansas City is best suited roster wise currently to catch them.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like over the last 11 or so games for Kansas City, like first off, shout out Michael Garcia. I think he is one of the more underrated players in baseball, having a tremendous year, by the way. So, like, shout
Mhm.
out Michael Garcia. But over the last 11 days, the pitching's been one of the best teams in the American League. So that obviously wants to give me hope as a pitching coach. But they've got an 83 WRC plus as an offense, and that is including Michael Garcia in that lineup mashing every day. That is including Bobby Witt starting to find it. They're winning games 4-3. They're winning games 2-1. Like they're winning very, very low scoring pitching duels. But I don't know. It doesn't exude me with confidence. But the other thing to talk about too, I know this is more us talking about the wild card matchups, or not the wild card matchups, but just the wild card race in general. But really, I think we need to talk about the top end of the American League too. Who wants the 1 and 2 seeds? It feels like they're not even playing well right now. It's like they're opening up the door for Boston. They're opening up the door for New York. To get back in there and steal one of those spots. I mean, Houston's not playing well right now for the 3rd seed. So, if Seattle does get hot or if Texas stays hot, there is a chance they're only 3 or 4 games back. They could even catch Houston. So those top 3 seeds, I don't think are pulling themselves away right now.
Yeah, the one that so let's talk about the East, I guess, first. Toronto is 82 and 61. They are the current 1 seed by about half a game over Detroit. Basically because Detroit has played one more game than Toronto and they happen to lose that game, is the
Yeah.
difference that we're talking about in the 1 and 2 seed. Toronto only has a 2 game lead over the Yankees. We talked about it, or we mentioned it earlier. The Yankees went 4 and 2 last week. They took a couple from Houston, which knocked Houston down, who had a rough week last week. They went 2 and 4. Toronto only being 2 games up on that team is not a lot.
Yeah.
And that is a very catchable number. Boston is only a game and a half behind the Yankees as well, so they're still within striking distance. It's going to be very interesting to see who pops out of the East. Obviously, if Toronto can course correct, they're in a good spot to do that. But you're right, the
Yeah.
one seed is still very much up in the air. Detroit obviously is going to win their division. They have an 8.5 game lead, and that
Yeah.
at this point in time is going to be pretty insurmountable, barring like international incident happening. Um, but I don't know. And then out west, Houston has a 2.5 game lead over the Seattle Mariners and 4 over Texas, who we mentioned. I guess if you're looking at it, Justin, who has the best shot to catch their division leader? Is it the Yankees or Red Sox, or is it Seattle and Texas?
I think it's got to be either of the AL East teams to catch Toronto, and this is where I kind of wanted to talk about Toronto. Now, I do think the Detroit Tigers need to be talked about too right now, but obviously they're kind of settled in their division, so we'll table that discussion for now. But with Toronto, I mean, offensively in their last 11 days, a lot of the stats that I've taken for today has been since August 28th, talking about the last 10 or 11 days. They are second in the American League in WRC plus with a 123, which is amazing in terms of how they're hitting the ball, they're mashing the ball around. But what scares me is they've got a 4.48 team ERA through that time. Although they are top 4 in Ks per nine, top 4 in walks per nine, and top 5 in least amount of home runs given up per nine in the American League, they are the third worst in BABIP. So they're giving up all their runs when just getting smacked around the field. And that's kind of led to that 5-5 record where the offense is mashing. They're able to win some offensive shootouts, but this pitching staff is getting hit around right now, and that doesn't exude confidence for me when you're trying to pull away and win a 1 seed. But you've also got your Yankees and Red Sox, the two kind of historic teams behind you that kind of always win that division typically, and they're staring down the barrel right now, look coming at you. And you're not playing really good baseball right now. You're playing 500 baseball, and that might be enough. But if you're playing 500 baseball for another 2 or 3 weeks, Yankees are playing 600 baseball. They're going to catch you and pass you. Same thing with the Red Sox. Now, the Red Sox still have some issues with pitching recently. Like Dustin May has been hit around like crazy. But that offense is amazing right now. So, yeah, I still think the Yankees have the best chance at catching Toronto, and I do think whoever wins the AL East is going to be the 1 seed with how Detroit's playing right now. And maybe that's the discussion for Detroit too, but yeah, I do think whoever wins the AL East is the 1 seed.
Yeah, Detroit, we'll talk about them for a second. It's not as do or die for them, it feels like. I think
Yeah,
they feel pretty confident they're going to get a bye at least is my takeaway from them. So the pressure's not really on. They don't really have anybody pushing them in the division, and they really haven't had anybody pushing them in the division since like the middle of May, you know? So they've kind of just been on cruise control, wrecking people. And I mean, we've seen in the past playoff experiences the last several years that 1 seed or 2 seed doesn't always mean a whole lot,
yeah, they're typically
especially
the ones getting
recently.
bounced.
Yeah, especially recently. So I don't know that there's a big emphasis in the clubhouse even on like, hey guys, we got to lock in to get the 1 seed because it doesn't actually benefit you that much, especially if worst case right now it's looking like they're going to get the 2 seed. That would be they can just kind of be on cruise control. They're getting people back healthy, all of that. Out west, Houston's kind of got to lock it in. They got another series with Texas here in a couple of weeks. Seattle, we've said is flailing, but you were right. They just had a get right series against Atlanta. They did unfortunately score a bunch of runs one day against Atlanta.
18-2, and I was at the 10-2, the one before it. So yeah, 28-4 in 2 games.
Yeah. So, unfortunately, I guess, for Justin and my Atlanta brethren, who I am very familiar with, obviously, shout out you, A-Townies. If Seattle is right now and they just start reeling off offense like they just did, whether or not that's sustainable or not, we'll see this week. But if they are able to, and they're able to start winning games at even a reasonable clip, 2.5 games is a very jumpable amount when you're just chasing that one team. In Houston, they have another series against Texas for sure. I believe they have another series against Seattle as well. Is that true?
I believe so. Without looking at it, I do think they do play each other. Now, my concern with Seattle is not the offense. Like they've got a 138 WRC plus and the fourth most homers and a really solid BABIP since August 28th. So at this point, my concern with them is the pitching. We've talked about Seattle for what the last 3 or 4 years being like a pitching factory. But guys like Logan Gilbert are just serving it up and getting hit around the ballpark right now. And they're not giving up homers. Again, they're just giving up a lot of hard contact, and they're not getting out of jams whenever they get themselves in it. Like I even kind of saw it up close and personal whenever Gabe Spire like blew the lead and stuff that they had in Game 1 of the Brave series. And obviously, that's not starting pitching. That's your bullpen. But either way, it seems like a lot of their pitching right now is just getting hit around the ballpark, and everybody's seeing beach balls whenever they're throwing. So that's the thing I think Seattle needs to get right. If they can get back to being the lockdown pitching staff they were last year or the year before, this 138 WRC plus probably doesn't stick around. It maybe falls around like a 115, 120 with what Kevin Seitzer and stuff is doing up there. But Seattle, I think it does have a pretty good shot to catch Houston if they don't get right.
Here's the worrying part for Houston. I was right. Houston, this week plays Toronto for 3 in Toronto, north of the border. And then maybe they have their get right series because they're going out to Atlanta next weekend. They have
Everybody's get right
Texas.
series, man.
They have Texas after that, and then Seattle the series after that. So we're about to know a whole lot about Houston very
It's
quickly.
primetime baseball in Houston, baby.
It is. It gets easier after that. They end with the Sacramento A's and the Angels. Both of those, though, on the road. So do with that information
Sacramento's
what
hitting
you
the piss
will.
out of the ball.
Yeah. So it's an interesting last stretch here for Houston. They are in the lead, but I wouldn't say comfortably. I guess let's take a glance here quickly at the American League playoff scenario as it sits right now, and then we'll transition to a little bit of NL talk because it only feels fair since we've been talking about the AL for about 15, 20 minutes
So
now.
long. Yeah.
Right now, as we said, Toronto, Detroit has the bye. As we record this, all of this obviously can fluctuate. We can only do what we know right now. Uh, Houston winds up playing Seattle in the first round of that wild card, and then New York gets Boston. I mean, some pretty electric series there, if we're honest.
Yeah, I'm absolutely loving the American League Series right now if that's what we get.
Yeah, I mean, both of those excite me pretty greatly. New York, Boston would be an unreal series, I think, the way that both of these teams are going. Now, Roman Anthony is out likely for the rest of the year, but I would imagine he's not back pre-wild card round, but I guess you never know. Obliques normally take a minute to get fully right, but I guess if there was ever a time to rush it to get ready for the
That would
playoffs
be the time.
is the
Yeah.
time because then you have the full off season to like get right. And then Houston Seattle, a division matchup, and they're playing each other as we said. Both of those are some
Yeah,
pretty
and
banger
that's
matchups.
yeah, and that's the thing too. I mean, if Texas does catch Seattle, or if Seattle jumps Houston, and obviously we're saying just as of right now, we've got Toronto and Detroit as the 1 and 2. Even if Seattle does catch and pass Houston, and the Rangers then pass up Houston, then we're still looking at a Mariners Rangers series. So we still got an AL West showdown regardless. So you could either get Astros Rangers, which obviously out there in Texas, all you Texans would love that matchup there, but then you've also got probably any AL West matchup you want there, because I think the Yankees and Red Sox kind of have those 1 and 2, or I think the AL East in general have those 1 and 2 wild card, and even the 1 seed probably locked down. I think those are the three that we can kind of say it's going to be one of those three in that order, but it's going to be an AL East showdown for one of them, and then we got the 1 seed being from the AL East as well.
Yeah, we'll see how we go. It's going to be an interesting last few weeks here in the American League. Let's flip over. Let's talk about the National League for a minute. The Brewers, I think, have the one spot pretty well in tow at this moment in time.
Yep.
They just are so far ahead of everybody. They figured to be the first team to get to 90 wins. They're sitting at
Good tonight.
89 currently as we record this, but it could be 90 by the time it comes out. We never know. Philly is trailing them. They have had some injuries that I guess maybe we just talk about now. Uh, Turner and his hamstring, I believe, are out for some sizable amount of time. They said they were hopeful that he would be back pre-playoffs, which to me is not the verbiage you would use if it's like a minor thing, because we still do have 3 weeks left, and that's not an insignificant amount of time. They are on the heels of losing Zach Wheeler for the year. Bohm is out as well. So tough times out there in Philadelphia, huh?
Yeah, it is. It is. Now, I will say, for Alec Boehm's case and Philadelphia's case, I don't think you're too sad that Alec Boehm is missing any time, because in reality, Edmundo Sosa in the last 10 or 11 games has actually had a much higher WRC plus than Alec Boehm. So you're really probably getting the replacement at third base that way. But either way, the Trey Turner injury, I do think is significant for them. If he isn't right by like September 20th, that's kind of the date I'm putting. Like, obviously, he's on the 10-day IL now. The things I've read say that it is concerning, but it's maybe of light concern, as opposed to saying, hey, we're not going to get him back until like September 28th, or we're early in October, whenever we're playing in a while, or whenever we're playing in like the division series. But either way, if Trey Turner's back somewhere between like September 18th and September 21st, kind of right after the first set of the 10 days ends on the 10-day IL stint, then I think he's fine. I think they'll probably load manage him to get him to the playoffs, but just try to get him right. Because he's been terrific leading off for the Philadelphia Phillies. I know tonight, the first game, that he'll be not in the lineup. Bryce Harper's leading off, so we'll see how Bryce does back in the leadoff spot. First time he's been back there since 2022. But either way, I think whether it's Kyle Schwarber leading off like he used to, or Bryce Harper leading off, or Trey Turner, just looking at the last 10 or 11 games, I mean, I'm not really concerned about the Philadelphia Phillies right now. Their pitching depth, we talked about that. Go check out the other podcast when we talked about the Zach Wheeler injury. I think their pitching is going to be fine. And I mean, Schwarber and Harper in that 1-3 hole, they're going to be fine. Like Bryce Harper comes alive in the playoffs anyway. Weston Wilson's actually led the team in WRC plus in the last like 10 or 12 games. Brandon Marsh, who's out tonight with some illness stuff, he's been mashing the ball, so he'll be back. He'll be fine. Bader, Scott, and even Baylor, Stott, and Kepler have also been really good too. And like I said, Edmundo Sosa has actually been better WRC plus in the last 10 days than Alec Bohm. So I'm not necessarily too concerned about the Philadelphia Phillies. They're winning games with a bunch of ragtag guys that a lot of us maybe don't think are good baseball players, but they are. And they've got what, a 7-game or so lead over the New York Mets, or 6-game lead over the Mets. So I think the
Yes.
East is in their hands, just unless there's like a big 2-week or 3-week left September collapse on their hands. But I don't envision that in Philly.
Yeah, it's a 7 game lead as we record this over the New York Mets, who have their own pitching struggles that we've documented on the channel. They have called up the Mets here, have called up McLean. Sproat has made a couple of starts. They just sent down Kodai. It's tough times out there. They don't really have the pitching that you would feel like you would want going into the playoffs, but then you could say that about most of the teams that we're looking at here. And
Yeah.
maybe this is a different podcast altogether, but there doesn't really feel like there's like an unbeatable, like powerhouse team in the major leagues right now. Is that like a horrible take?
No, I don't think it's a horrible take at all, because, I mean, obviously on paper, you want to say the Los Angeles Dodgers, but they're hurt right now. They're not playing amazingly. I mean, do we have to talk about the Yoshinobu Yamamoto start the other day? So, I mean, it's crazy. Like, the Dodgers are not the team that we thought they were, and really the Milwaukee Brewers are kind of that team right now. And so, but then obviously, like Noah, a guy that a lot of you guys will meet here at some point, like a big Brewers fan, he's out on him, and he's a Brewers fan. So it's like I don't think really a breakaway team in the Major League Baseball league right here. And it's like, hey, who's really going to step up and take the reins of this thing and go win a World Series this year? And that's, I think we've got some good parity this year. And maybe this is me jinxing it, and the Los Angeles Dodgers are just coasting their way into it, making everybody think, oh, we suck, we're not performing well, we're hurt. And then they're going to come in and show, hey, hits like 40 bombs just in the postseason. Freddie Freeman goes from a 212 batting average to a 600. And they just like sweep everybody and walk away with another World Series, go back to back, and everybody's like, all right, screw you, LA, and all your deferred contracts.
Yeah. I guess let's get into some Dodger talk because I think it is worth noting I think they finally won a game, which is good because that hadn't happened in like a week. But they had a
Yeah.
tough time out in Baltimore specifically. Basayo hit a walk-off, I believe Friday night that was. It's his first career home run at home. So that's always cool to have that happen and be a walk-off home run. And then, as you alluded to, the Yamamoto start Saturday, no hitter through 8 2/3. It's the most pitches he's thrown in the major leagues. And then, you would feel good about handing the ball over to Trinan and Scott, and it didn't happen. They could not record a single out to end the game, which is not what you want. The Dodgers are in an interesting spot. They're not exactly cruising, obviously. Their bullpen is tough. They moved up Otani to pitch when Glasnow had to get scratched. And the people that are like, man, Otani won't even pitch on this team, like, the Dodgers are at a point right now, they're using Otani in unplanned starts. That's where that roster's at right now. And I can't even guarantee you that they're going to win their division because the
Yeah.
Padres are only one game back. Now, they're having their own problems, which we'll talk about in a moment. But, man, the Dodgers are in a tough spot, you know?
Yeah, yeah. So I was on Fangraphs looking at a lot of this stuff, and it's like since August 28th, again, a lot of my stats are through August 28th. They've got an 85 WRC plus. Their WOBA and expected WOBA are close enough to say, okay, maybe they are getting a little unlucky, but it's still close enough to say that they're very similar in what they're doing. They seem like, and now do I watch Dodgers games every night? Absolutely not. I hate the Dodgers, and I'll be honest and say that. But they are hitting a bunch of singles and striking out a bunch right now. And the pitching is not too great either. But I think a lot of it right now is more to do with like the relief pitching. Like obviously this one blow up relief appearance for both Trinan and Tanner Scott, I think has elevated or imploded things here in the last 10 days.
Mm-hmm.
But Blake Trinan, Tanner Scott, Edgardo Henriquez, they've all been really bad. Blake Snell, in terms of the starting pitchers, is walking a ton of guys, which I know he can have an issue with occasionally, but he's walking a ton of guys and giving up a ton of base hits. That's not a recipe for success. Kershaw and Sheehan are kind of getting hit around right now. Kershaw came back looking really good, and then it's kind of tailed off a little bit. And then obviously we've got a bunch of injuries and stuff in there. Like we talk about offense. Like Freddie Freeman's not the same old Freddie Freeman right now. He's got like a 220 or 212 batting average or something like that. And then don't get me started on like Conforto or Pajes or Call or Kike Hernandez or Teoscar Hernandez. Like Haesung Kim has been really bad offensively. So right now they're just kind of in this rut offensively, despite Will Smith, Mookie Betts, Miguel Rojas, Shohei Ohtani offensively being really good. And Shohei, you got to think of Shohei, the pitcher right now. He's kind of like in his May right now. So he's still, in a way, getting in tune to the season, and Shohei will be better in the playoffs, probably pitch 6, 7 shutout innings and be fine because he looks pretty good for where he should be if this was May. But obviously, Shohei needs to continue this ramp up process and get to the postseason. But yeah, it's just right now things aren't clicking in Los Angeles, and there might be some doomsday talk in SoCal in terms of Los Angeles, but there also might be some doomsday talk down in San Diego. Speaking of Southern California.
Yeah, let me give you one more little factoid here on the Dodgers, and then we can jump into some Padres talk. But here's the reason why I'm concerned about the Dodgers in the postseason. Because offense is at such a premium there. You're getting everybody's best pitchers. The Dodgers are 54-10 this year when they score more than 5 runs. And that's like, that sounds awesome, but that's not incredible by that metric because you should win a lot of games. There are some teams that are like 60-5 in that. Okay, so it's not like they're the top tier at winning when they score more than 5 runs. The part that's concerning to me, where I would begin to worry if I was a Dodger fan, when they score less than 5 runs, they are 33-55 this year. And that is just not a good place to be however you cut up your schedule, because you're not going to score more than 5 runs. More than half of their games, they don't score 5 runs, and they are drastically below 500 in that. And it's not even close. It's not like they're treading water there. They're 33 and 55. We're 22 games below
Significantly
500
under
when that doesn't
500.
happen. There's a way to cut up the schedule. Since the All-Star break, I believe the Pirates have a better record than they do right now. Uh,
Pirates swept them.
yeah, it's not good vibes out there in LA right now. But that's enough about the Dodgers. Give us some Padres stuff. What do we got
Yeah.
here?
Yeah, so I honestly think right now the Padres have a pitching problem. Like the Padres are giving up way too many homers. They're walking a ton of guys, but they're also doing a good job at getting out of jams, at least from a bullpen perspective. Whenever they do get in there, the only relief pitcher I'm looking at that's been bad for them recently has been Jeremiah Estrada, and really that was really just one blow up inning. So the starters are really just getting hit around. I mean, Dylan Cease is not been the Dylan Cease that we saw last year. And then if you want to talk about the offense, like they have a 120 WRC plus, so you're thinking everything's fine. The offensive problems I think come from a super high K rate. And they're not walking legitimately at all. I believe when I looked, it was like an 8% walk rate or something in their last 10 or 12 games. Their ISO power rating's a 150, so that's not good. They're not hitting homers at all. And this is Petco Park you're talking about. Like you can knock those things out of there. And you're not hitting the ball really well at all in terms of for power. They've just kind of been a solid-ish home run team. They're getting some solid home run numbers, but when they do, it's solo shots, and you're not scoring a bunch of runs. But then again, to kind of liven it up a little bit, the only guys that are really struggling offensively or being liabilities offensively are Ryan O'Hearn, their trade deadline acquisition, Manny Machado, and Jose Iglesias. Those are the only guys that like get extended periods of playing time that really are struggling. Now, obviously, you can talk about Fernando Tatis Jr., you can talk about Jackson Merrill. They're both superstars in their own right, and they're playing like barely above average hitters. So you want a little bit more from them. But right now, I mean, I think it comes back to pitching, and like they've got to get the pitching squared away. Like, hey, like Michael King and Dylan Cease and these guys here are like guys that we've seen be like untouchable at times, and right now they're pretty hittable. And don't get me started on Nestor Cortez. Like Nestor Cortez is just serving up meatballs. So it's tough in San Diego from a pitching perspective. I think I know a pitching coach that lives out there that they need to maybe answer the phone call from.
Yeah. To be fair, I would like to shout out one pitcher who's having a nice year out there. It's full pension Piff. Nick Pivetta is
Yep.
having himself a pretty good year. He's got a 2.85 ERA, 172 strikeouts, over 164 innings. He's at 5 B WAR for those of you that like pitcher WAR. Um, He's been good. The rest has been pretty hit or miss. Michael King has shown flashes. He also has only started 11 games. He hasn't really been healthy this year. Kolek has been okay. Darvish has not been what they've hoped, obviously, in his 11 starts this year. Their bullpen is their one saving grace. And I do wonder if that Jason Adam injury affected the locker room more than we gave it credit for when it originally happened. Because when that happened, we looked and we were like, that sucks, obviously, but it'll be okay because they still have Morjan and they have Estrada and they have Suarez and they have Wandy Peralta. Like they have all these guys to fill that void a little bit. And I wonder if that affected them a little bit more than we would have given them credit for initially.
It could, and that's the thing. I would need to reach out to some of my Padres buddies out in San Diego to see like what were the vibes in the locker room, like day to day when you watch the team. But it does kind of feel like he could have been one of those glue guys that made it nice to come into the ballpark every single day. And when you lose a guy like that, it takes a bigger hit than obviously he was a pitcher that was performing too. Like let me not just say the glue guy as like the guy that's not performing and he's their vibes guy like Guillermo Heredia was for the 21 Braves. Like it's a guy that's performing, but it's also like a guy that could have been like the glue holding it all together. And when you lose a guy like that, it's just tough to rebound from because you're like, hey, a guy that's been performing, a guy that deserves this, the guy that comes in, probably first one in, last one to leave, works so hard, and it just kind of feeds the team. And whenever you don't have that, it's like, dang, like we just lost him, and he was having a great year, and he deserved to be great And now what are we to do now? And sometimes it's hard for teams like that to flip the switch when you lose a guy like that. So if the vibes were that way, where he was one of those guys, that could very well be another reason why they're kind of struggling right now.
Yeah. I mean, somebody's got to win the NL West because that's the way baseball works.
Yep.
And it will likely be one of these two teams. Although the Giants are, they're at least in a wild card position. They're not really in a position to strike, but I guess if you were real optimistic, the Giants are still mathematically in it. So somebody's got to win the NL West. Uh, if you had to pick between the Dodgers and the Padres, there's one game separating them right now. The Dodgers are a game up. Who do you got?
I still got to go Dodgers. I feel like they're inevitable. I feel like they'll get it clicking. I mean, I do think offensively they have enough guys performing really well. Like I said, it was like Mookie Betts, Will Smith, those kind of guys. I mean, Freddie Freeman's still been an above average hitter despite how bad the average looks like right now in terms of WRC plus. So I do feel like they've got the guys on their roster that have the baseball cards. Pulling a Brian Snitker here, but they have the baseball cards, and they're going to be guys that I think will pull it through in the end. But at the end of the day, I just think the pitching problems that San Diego has for more than just one or two guys. I feel like it's going to hold them back slightly. Are they still a wild card team? Absolutely. Do they need maybe some more offense and push that run differential up to maybe push the Dodgers? That's where I think they're going to kind of more need that miracle to go take their first ever NL West title.
Yeah. I don't know. It's an interesting time out there. I think I just have to think the Dodgers will course correct somewhat because they just can't be as bad as they were last week. It would be hard for them to be that bad. Uh, but I think the Dodgers will clutch it out. I still, but I can't guarantee to you right now that the Dodgers are likely going to play a 3-game playoff series. The way that the
Yeah.
NL playoff picture is shaping up, no matter how you cut it, I don't really see a feasible way that they're catching the Phillies, even with all the Phillies injuries, unless they super snap like right now. They correct because the Phillies have a bit of a buffer over them.
Yeah. Well,
Um,
and that's the thing. This could be the master plan for the Dodgers. We just talked about earlier, like the 1 and 2 seeds are never
yep.
safe once you get back into the division series. So maybe the Dodgers are just trying to say, "Oh, we're so terrible. Oh, we've got all these issues," and then we're gonna walk in the wild card series, and you'll sweep the Mets, and then you'll move on, and now you're hot facing Milwaukee or Philly. It'd probably end up being Philly, and then you'd just go take it to Philly, and now Philly's mad. And then you got to go face the Brewers, and now you're already hot, and boom, now you're a World Series champion back to back. Maybe it's the master plan. Maybe that's what Dave Roberts, when he hit my hand as a high five over in the All Star game. Maybe that's what he was trying to tell me whenever we slapped hands there.
Maybe it is. Counterpoint. They're playing a dangerous game right now because I can't
Yeah,
even
they are.
guarantee to you that they're going to host their 3-game playoff series that they're about to almost definitely have to play in. There's a 50-50 chance realistically they're on the road and they got to go into like Wrigley. And that's going to be a mess because we haven't talked about the Cubs in a while. The Cubs, they're kind of in no man's land because the Brewers have been so good and there's no one really chasing them, but they're comfortably in a playoff spot. The Cubs are like kind of a good team. So whichever of Dodgers, Padres, Mets winds up having to play the Cubs, that's going to be a bad time because you're going to have to go
Yeah.
into Wrigley in October in the cold, in the wind for 3 games and figure out how to win 2 of them probably.
Yeah. Well, and that's another thing just to bring up on the Cubs, because obviously I'm more in tune with what's happening with the Cubs currently, because they're playing my Braves. Braves are beating them 3-0. Michael Harris missed a home run 2 feet foul to make it five. But either way, Kyle Tucker's not in the lineup tonight because he's still been battling an injury the last 3 or 4 days, and they are slightly concerned. They're not overly concerned, but they are slightly concerned. So if Kyle Tucker does end up missing some extra time, like this could be something that hurts the lineup. But then again, yeah, like Shota Imanaga minus tonight has been really good. They've got a good pitching staff. They've got really good offensive guys. Like Dansby Swanson's a great leader in that clubhouse. So the Cubs will be fine. But if Kyle Tucker does miss time, there is at least a hole in the lineup that they've got to fill.
Yeah, their pitching is interesting. I guess the top end, the names that they have in their pitching rotation don't make you feel very comfortable. They don't have that like sheer fire ace, like where you're like, all right, we are absolutely winning this game. Their ace
Horton
right
is
now
pretty
is like,
good,
what's up?
but Cade Horton's pretty good.
Cade Horton has been pretty nails since he's like when he
Not the rookie of the
started.
year. Not the rookie of the year, but he's been pretty good.
He has been pretty good. But besides him, I mean, you're looking at Shota, sure. And then it's like Matthew Boyd, yeah, and like Colin
He's been okay.
Ray.
Colin Ray has been good, but he's been lit up recently.
He has been good, but it hasn't. It's not a name that when you see it inspires the
You don't stutter.
fear that
Yeah.
like, oh no, we have to run into Scooble. You're like, the game one starter for them is Matthew
Colin
Boyd.
Ray. Yeah.
We're in it, like we could fluke one against Matthew Boyd. That's one of the things that I have concerns about. Their other is just their bullpen for the same
Yeah.
reason. And this is I don't watch every Cubs game, obviously, but I mean Brad Keller has been your best reliever, probably. It's him or Thielbar, and that's not like awesome. They have been good, credit to them, but they're not like absolutely dominant shutdown guys like a Chapman would be out in Boston, who we'll talk about in a minute. Uh, Ryan Presley they got has been bad.
Yep.
So there is holes, but it's still a really good team, and I think having to go into Wrigley to play them would still be a difficult task to win 2 out of 3 against them.
Oh, absolutely. And now you're talking about weather elements and stuff too, especially if a SoCal team goes in there to play them. So, hey, 3 games in Wrigley might be snowing.
Yeah, you never really know out there in Chicago, the Windy City. They have a bean, I'm told. Never been, but I'm told they have a
Yep.
big bean, and there's a NASCAR race there once a year.
They do have a big bean, and they also have a big glove in left field or right field, whichever field it was.
I think that's San Francisco now.
Well, no, the Cubs guy back in like the '90s or whatever it was.
The glove?
Yeah, no, like the curse guy.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Bateman.
yeah, yeah.
Beckman? I don't know. Comment down below. Y'all will know. If you're a Cubs fan, you've made it 45 minutes into this, you know who we're talking about.
That's our comment. That's our player comment for the day. Comment his name. We'll pin you.
Yeah, yeah. Let us know because we obviously don't remember. We don't know ball. Let's talk about one last thing. Chapman's been on one hell of a run lately, and we should acknowledge it and we should talk about it. The last video on this channel, as you're watching this, would have been a short about Aroldis Chapman and his dominance. He's got a sub 1 ERA this year, man. He is 37 and he's just been absolutely shoving. He has not allowed a base runner in he is not allowed a hit, excuse me, in his last
And hit. Yeah.
50 batters. In his last 17 appearances, he is 17 for 17 in save opportunities. They've all been save opportunities. That's over 15 innings because there's been a couple of 1 and 2 out saves sprinkled in. He's struck out 24 batters in that time. And these are not small, like bad out of it baseball teams. We're talking about he's struck out the Dodgers and he's played the Phillies in that time. And there's a lot of teams that he has played. So it's not like he's had a cakewalk through this, as you would. Nobody's a cakewalk, but you can't cakewalk 15 consecutive innings over 17 appearances completely. I just thought I'd shout that out. It's been a pretty dominant season for my man Aroldis Chapman out there in Boston.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we used to talk about Aroldis Chapman as a guy that would throw it 105 and spray it around everywhere. I do think some of the best things that's ever happened to him is that he's kind of lost his stuff a little bit, right? Like he's not throwing 105 anymore. He can still get it up to like 101, 102. But he's getting to the point now where he can really locate the slider. Like if he's down 1-0 and can then get that slider in for strike one, like he's doing a really good job at throwing strikes with the fastball. that what I do think I've took a little deep dive into his Baseball Savant page, and over the last 2 or 3 years, his arm slot angle's been around 52 degrees. But he is getting a little more rise this year with the fastball. He's getting a lot more rise with the sinker, which is obviously something you're like, wait, hold on, the sinker rising? But no, he's getting some arm side rise with that sinker, which is absolutely tremendous and throwing hitters off that way. And then he's getting a lot more glove side break with his slider too, and it's tremendous to see. I mean, just Chapman being able to locate and throw strikes and say, "Hey, I'm up 0-2. Now I can then go and gun him down at 103 and be a little effectively wild, like they like to say with Randy Johnson." Like I think that's what's taking this 37-year-old to a borderline Hall of Famer to I think he really is on the Hall of Fame track here if he continues to pitch like this. I mean, 50 consecutive 50 consecutive plate appearances or at bats or something like that without allowing a base hit. That's 2+ games of no hitters, or right at 2 games of no hitters thrown. So it's like, hey, Chapman's been on a really good run, and he deserves his flowers for sure.
Yeah, I think he has said the thing that turned him around is I think one day in spring training, Connor Wong through PitchCom pressed like fastball inside, and he said, "Well, I've never really thought about trying to throw it inside," which is wild to me to make it. I mean, he's played a lot of years. This is not a young man. He has been up for like 15-ish years at this point. That for
He's
that to
been
be
good
the
for a lot
first
of them.
time that they're like, "Oh yeah, maybe try to throw it on a half of the plate," and him be like, "Oh yeah, that's a great idea actually," and it just
I never thought about
unlocks.
that.
Yeah, and it just unlocks something for him is insane. By the way, but I guess when you throw it 105, you don't need to.
You
But
just blow
now,
it past.
yeah, and it's insane. By the way, we're talking about he still can't throw it past him. He throws it 101 when he wants to.
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
he's still got it. It's not as like often, I would say, because he's got a devastating slider. As I was
yep.
pulling clips earlier for him, but he is a nasty pitcher, man. He is on the Hall of Fame
Yeah.
track.
And this gets me on another little tangent though, but just being able to throw up and into hitters too is just the like I sit around Tom House all the time talking about what Nolan liked to do. Like if Nolan got 0-2, where's Nolan going? Up and in. Like he wanted to move the hitter off the plate. He wanted to scare the hitter away to where then he could throw anything. He could go right back up inside with the fastball. He could go change up low away. Like he could do whatever he really wanted to do because then the hitter's now backed off the plate. He's a little nervous because now, hey, my bell just got rung with a fastball up and inside. So being able to play with the hitter's mind like that is absolutely huge too.
Yeah, I mean we'll do a little bit more Red Sox talk here to end the episode, I guess. It's come out this week. Alex Bregman, barring an injury or like a catastrophic slump, likely going to opt out at the end of the year. So they got a big decision to make on do they're going to attempt to re-sign Bregman, obviously, because it would be foolish not to at least attempt to. But
Absolutely,
they
Ralphie.
yeah,
Yeah,
they have an interesting offseason coming up because there is talks of moving Duran. Does that still happen if Bregman moves? What is the story situation looking like? Because you got so many young guys. You know, they have an interesting offseason coming up.
yeah.
And what do you think that kind of looks like for them? I guess the big one is do they manage to retain Bregman?
Yeah, I think a lot of it still is right now. You got to go balls to the wall right now and get as far deep in this postseason as you possibly can. And then if you get deeper in the postseason, then that money bank that Boston does have that they don't usually always spend a ton of, like that money bank might start opening back up if they do get to the ALCS or if they do beat the Yankees in a postseason series. But I do think overall Alex Bregman goes back. I don't really see anywhere else he would go unless there is a Houston return for the Crawford boxes over there. But yeah, I mean Bregman, I think goes back to Boston. He'll get more AAV, obviously, is what he would probably end up wanting. And then yeah, it just ends up like you got to see how kind of the playoffs pan out here. Like that's going to be the big tell for a lot of it. I mean, Boston's got a lot of young guys that they got to get some playing time. That's their future. I get that. But I mean, you want to be you're the Red Sox, right? Like you want to win now. So You got to try to retain Bregman. I think Duran is good to keep around. I think he is the heart and soul of that team, and I don't think he needs to go anywhere. Despite what I was talking about earlier at the trade deadline of him to San Diego for Dylan Cease, it makes me look like a fool now for talking about it. But either way, it's just like Duran is the heart and soul of that team, and Bregman is a captain of that team in a way right now. So maybe there's a Chapman reunion too at 38 and see if he's still got something in the tank the way that he's pitching right now. But this team's just got to see what they do in the playoffs to determine what their next steps are.
Yeah, I do think they've already extended Chapman. They gave
Oh
him
yeah, that is true.
2026, and I think a mutual option for 2027. There's some sort of option for 2027, but he's at least there next year, which it'll be interesting. That'll be the make or break for Chapman, I think, in his Hall of Fame push, which is another episode topic, maybe Hall of Fame or not, with some current guys. That feels like a great offseason episode.
Absolutely.
Uh, I guess we're right at about 50 minutes. If I think we've covered a lot today.
We have.
Playoff picture, SoCal, the Northeast is interesting. We've covered a lot of the Midwest. We are America's baseball show. I think we hit
We
all
are.
the parts of America. So shout out us. I guess if you made it to this part of the episode, comment the name of the Cubs guy.
Yeah, name of the Cubs guy. Yeah, give us some ball knowledge.
Is it Steve Bartman? That feels familiar. Somebody will let
That
us
does
know.
feel familiar.
Somebody will let us know. You know what I'm saying? But
Absolutely.
thank you guys for watching. Again, if you made it to this part, hit subscribe. If you stuck with us through 52 minutes, you'll stick with us through several more episodes. Hit the subscribe button, hit the bell. The postseason's coming. We got shorts. We got other videos coming out that aren't just podcasts. And we will see y'all in the next one. Take it easy.
Ciao, ciao. Bye.